man, here we go. Dude, Dad's Friday. Now we got to guess.
It feels like it's been a while, right?
Yes, right, because last week we didn't record one.
We didn't do one last week because we did some cool stuff. What did we do?
We kind of got more tactical. We added some things to social media, right? Now we got TikTok, Instagram, Facebook page.
Dude, we're pretty much famous.
We're working on it. I mean, I'm
gonna stop doing the podcast now. We've already made it.
Yeah. Working on getting on Spotify. So
yeah,
that's a big thing. Man, find out.
That was fucking dog.
Oh shit! I was like, what the fuck is that noise?
Shit, man.
It's amazing.
Dude, when you open the door, she sometimes runs right behind you and just fucking.
Come on.
Crazy
maniac.
All right, lay down. You're a coffee spill.
Yeah, now I can tell. Bring dude in here. Bring dude in here.
All right. I see.
Look at this.
I see. Oh God, you're okay.
All right, lady, come here.
Okay.
Does it smell good? Come here, over here.
I cleaned it this morning.
Over here. Lay down.
Look at this. This is fun.
Lay down.
Oh, come on, you're killing me.
Lay down.
Oh, I love it.
There's only too much in here.
I love this.
Lady.
Yeah, my dead dog's on there. Come on.
Oh, come on. Dang it.
Let me bring the other one in.
Hey.
Come on.
Bring the whole hair
Come on.
in here.
Dude, labs and tails, bro.
Oh my
Holy cow. So Tom's got 2 black labs. That's Lady. So his name's Dude.
Yeah.
And Dude is like, I don't know, like 100. And and he's I don't know, I think he died like a couple years ago. There he is.
Hey.
There's Dude, everybody. Now he's going to be excited.
Beard is grayer. Yours or his?
Bro, I'm working on it. That's a proper dog.
All right, dude,
That's a proper lab.
Get out of there.
Oh.
Come on.
You just talked about the tails.
Lay down.
So anyway,
Lay down.
what we're like finding out is like
Dude, lay down.
all this technical shit, the Spotify stuff and everything is like, it's a lot more complicated than I thought.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not more complicated.
It's
It's
not
like
record and upload.
well, no, it's just like time consuming, and the time of like, damn. So we can make content, but then editing and all this stuff and uploading and putting on things and learning how to do it.
That's probably the biggest part is trying to be a 16-year-old now. It's like, what? I don't even know technology anymore.
Yeah, I did just find out that high school doesn't have an AV club, so we would have to just rely on like a technical audio visual.
I mean, there was.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was an athlete. I didn't do nerd stuff when I was in high school.
What's AV stand for?
Audio visual.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah,
I knew
you know what I'm
that.
saying?
Obviously.
So
We call it TV tech. That's what we have. It's called TV tech.
Okay, yeah, it was.
But that was for
1987.
that wasn't like a badge of honor if you're in TV tech.
So this is the second time we've had a guest on.
Yeah, this is the second time we had the coaches on. So we're now getting back to a point where we're going to like bring guests on. Jerry and I have practiced enough with each other.
We talk too much to each other as it is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy. I got the invite. I've been following you guys and tracking your journey. Like I just told Jerry, I think it's cool that you guys have stuck to it. You know, of course, at first when you got a bunch of views at first one, and then it's kind of trickled down. But you know, just maintaining that purpose and keep going. I like it. It's good. Good for you guys.
And we touched on it before we started recording and everything. Like, I don't think we don't have like an official mission statement, right? Which I kind of think we should.
Okay.
Like something actual official, but essentially it's, you know, embracing more manly father figures, manly husbands, men in the world,
and not apologizing for it.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, there's a lot of quiet because a good portion of the world is like tries to suppress the masculinity and maybe the only word that's coming to mind is violent, right? Or like
it's
aggressive.
Comes across toxic now. If you're masculine, you know you're not in touch with you're not feeling you're not including everyone now. You're too masculine,
right?
You know?
Yeah. So
come on, man.
I never bought into that. We want to embrace that and say like, look, we need figures like guys like us for our kids mainly, right? For our wives, right? For like leaders in our community.
Yeah.
So essentially, I mean, and that comes with a huge array of things. So, yeah, being a dad, being a husband, being out in the open, also just like doing dude stuff, right? Building shit with your hands, figuring stuff out, being a problem solver.
And I think being masculine and being unapologetic, I think that cuts out a lot of bullshit. You don't get involved in a lot of things that just have too many gray areas. It's like, this is me, this is how I am, this has worked. I'm not going to apologize for being a man.
And you're not worried.
What's wrong with being a man? What's wrong with being masculine?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not. Your mind isn't doing.
And look, if you're not down with that, then you're not invited to my birthday party. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on a point. I think if you even look at like the course of time, when things get loud, men they'll concrete in. They'll put their feet in the ground. And they'll stay quiet, but they're there, right?
Yeah.
And I think that humbleness of most men. We just get up and go to work, raise our families, do the right thing, and I think you really touch on that there. And do we get loud again? Probably. As this time goes on, I think we'll start to. I think you're starting to see it now. Men are beginning to raise their voice again.
Yeah,
we get tired of the shit, and you can only push people so far, and the patience that it takes to not be violent. Is special. So,
and we could probably agree. Like when we use words like violent and aggressive, it's not negative.
No,
it's not in a negative way. Most times, I think the need or the ability to do it is good, but being aggressive as far as like going after what you want,
or being passionate about
being passionate. That's a good thing. And like you, I'm without assuming things, but I'm pretty sure like you align with similar thinking as mine with stuff like this. What do you see? You just mentioned like a shift, like men are starting to stand up a little bit more. And do you think it kind of goes along with that saying, like the whole hard times makes tough men, easy times make soft men?
Yeah.
And are we on the swing of that, like easy times, soft men back into hard times, harder men?
I believe that. I believe you're definitely, because men over again the course of time we've all. If you look at each generation, men have done the same thing. Like I said, they get up, they go to work, they want to be left alone, don't touch their families, right? Don't mess with my money, don't mess with my families. And the current atmosphere is we're going to keep messing with your family. Well, then that propensity for violence exists, not in the we're going to actually cause physical violence, but we're going to say, all right, that's it, enough's fucking enough.
Yeah.
Right. So from the top leadership that exist in communities and around the nation, like we just need those guys to begin to rise up now. And I think you're going to start seeing that. I really do.
I do too.
I think that you've seen it in school boards, and you've seen moms and dads both doing it. Like, hey, you're gonna stop doing this.
Yes.
Because there will be problems. Whatever that problem is, or how we solve that problem is what it is. But you can't just keep pushing.
Yeah.
Against the wall.
Blue collar men have always just done the same thing. They just want to be left the fuck alone. Right? Leave me alone. Allow me to raise my family. And when you cause a wrinkle in that trust, and we're going to kick back. We're just, nah, that's enough.
Yeah, and you only
or we become sheltered, right? You see more and more now of people going, that's it, I'm out of the city. I'm going off grid. I will take my family where it's safe. Because that's the big thing, is safety, right? Our main purpose, whether we like it or not, we create a safe environment for our families. And I think that's just built into a man's DNA.
100%.
Some can't do it, some will do it. We do it in different fashions. But I believe that that's what you're starting to see now. You see more preppers.
Yeah.
And those people aren't crazy. They're just saying, hey, you've pushed me too far.
Yeah, now I have to think like this.
Now you forced me into this.
I say that a lot with anything that has to do with like some type of overreach, or even like when people complain about commodities or the prices of things. Like I'd say, why don't you just stop participating in those things instead of just complaining the whole time? I think like blue collar men, like, I ain't buying that no more.
Right,
I ain't doing that no more.
Yep.
We're done. Like just no more. The quiet, like the quietness, like. We're not participating in that anymore. I'm not going to have that discussion. We're done. I'm not. So like, when you see people moving out of the cities and moving to new, I love that. I have told Candace, I said, if this country, it ever did get wild and it wasn't working and they started really taking away rights and it wasn't great to live here. Okay, well, I'll just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have my family.
Yeah.
There's a whole world out there. I mean, and then if everyone had a problem, I'm more like, If they really want that thing so bad, then give it to them, and we'll just go somewhere else. And then what are you gonna be left with? You ain't got like I always think like the other day I just had this thought about like I went deep into YouTube. You know what I mean? Like I
Down the rabbit hole.
YouTube like 11 at night, and there's just so much negative, and a lot of it has to do with with the how to gender kids and all this, and obviously overreach of government or the big corporation overreach. There's a lot of hotspots on Google. And I'm sitting there thinking like, what if everyone was like, all right, man, well, if you want America so bad, you can have it. Let's just go somewhere else. There's cooler spots. There's other places that have great lakes, good fishing, good hunting. We can all just pack up. Like, if you want it that bad, if you want that much control over all of us, once you have it, and then we'll go and get it out of here. That's how I think.
Yeah, I think
you can have it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's there's just you can feel it. You're on a cusp of something of better leaders stepping up into the roles they have to be in. They didn't have to be there for so long. They're kind of like, okay, cool, they got that. I can focus on this thing. And now you're seeing the men and women, like you said, parents that are stepping up and are, okay, I have to get to this role now because I have to help make a difference. Yeah. And it's on that macro level all the way down to these tiny micro levels of running your houses, your homes, your whole, your family economy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's why you're starting to see also the rise of stoicism again, right? Like you're seeing it more on the internet. You're seeing more people taking part in it. There's more groups that believe in the stoic philosophies that existed prior to, because that builds a good moral foundation for a family, and especially as men. And that's why I think you're seeing some of that start to also take place, where we don't want to waste energy. For everybody out there, men don't want to waste energy on negative shit all day. Mm-hmm. We don't have time for it. Yeah. We have other things we'd like to participate in, and it ain't negative shit.
Right.
That's why most men don't get involved in the text threads of gossip and all that shit.
Yeah, your bandwidth isn't that wide.
Dude, we just want to do the shit we want to do and create a good environment for the family. And I'm a big proponent of please don't waste my time with all these negative actions. I don't have the patience or the energy for it, nor do I want to waste my energy on it.
No, and it's you have to actively avoid it. You have to be intentional about avoiding that stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's so much. So now you've got to all right, how am I going to build my day or my life around avoiding this shit? Tom doesn't go. He doesn't look at Facebook. He uses it for business, but he doesn't look at it.
Dude, people bring that shit. This is what I'm talking about. Don't participate in it. It's very simple. I don't even follow my own wife. I don't, dude. People would say something to me like, "Oh, yeah, you see it?" I'm like, I don't know. If they're like, "Don't you see her on Facebook?" I'm like, I don't even follow her. I unfollowed every single person. So all mine's set up for business. And my Facebook is only business, so it's only pages of groups. So when people tag me and stuff, I'm part of that group. So I go in there and say, "Hey, this is my business." Blah
appreciate
blah.
You.
But appreciate you. Which I know people love, so I get in as quick as I can to say that. But if there's weird stuff by people being said on there, and I'll just unfollow that person inside that group. So I'm now seeing how long will it take so I can stop seeing negative stuff on the actual group pages. Yeah. Because it seems like I'm trying to see how few of people are actually doing all the complaining.
Yeah, and I don't think people, with as much as they do on there, they don't see the second and third effects that come from those complaints. Once you say those things, once you post those things, they do follow you. You're unfollowing people. Yeah. It's a connection that person has now lost with never even thinking of it. Yeah. I think people just need to get away from that.
Yeah. No, that's not how humans were meant to interact.
No, that's not, and Facebook, Facebook was never was not that for my start. When we first got Facebook, that was in college. I tell my wife this all the time. I said, I use Facebook to remember who the hell I even talked to last night. I said, what does she look like? I don't know. Go on Facebook. I'm like, oh yeah, I talked to her for 45 minutes? Wow, okay. So that was the start of Facebook. Hey, here's today's schedule. Hit me up, because back then, even though you had text messages, it was so expensive to be texting. So a lot of times you put so somebody hit your dorm room up. You say, this is my class schedule. I'll be at my dorm room, blah, blah, that was it.
Did you have your away message on AIM?
Oh, dude, yeah. I used AIM all the way through college.
Yeah.
That was a good, because everybody, you get back from class, go on the computer, talk real quick. Yeah. Because all your buddies around the country at different colleges. Yeah. It was very much communications then, and then also a memory saver. So that's one thing I liked about the Facebook is like, all the memories.
That's the best part about it.
That's the best memory bank.
99% of when I post pictures and whatever on Facebook is because I enjoy seeing it years later. You know what I mean? The benefit to me is like one business too, like the time capsule thing.
Yeah.
Because like Charlotte just had her 10th birthday, and now all these pictures come up of her as an infant, and I'm like, dang, like it's just wild, and you can kind of see all of these things right throughout the year. So that's literally my intention of posting this stuff because it's the time capsule. It's not going to go away. You know what I mean? It's always going to be there for me. So that's a great thing.
I'm curious about your military background. So, when in regards of masculinity, do you see any trend changing there, or is that still strong as ever when you step foot in there and all that bullshit is, as soon as you walk through the door, they're like, look, any of that shit out there is not here? Or
the military is a fascinating product, I'll say, because so generations are 18, 25 years, right?
Yeah.
Well, the military, you could see these generations of soldiers coming in, and it's a quick change. So it's not like a regular life generation. Like these kids are changing within 5-10 year increments.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of different stuff. I think again that there's a different class of man that's coming in. You got some of the older, or I should say younger, back end millennials and the Gen Z or whatever it is now. They're coming in. They're just coming in under different context and what have you. Because I joined, it was prior to 9/11, and then 9/11 happened. Well, the kids joining today, 9/11's a history book lesson.
They weren't even born.
They weren't born yet. So it's just a different person, and we really haven't been at war for some time now. It's been, my last deployment was a decade ago. Well, that's thousands of new soldiers that have come through the door already. So they're just there under a different pretense.
Okay.
So as far as,
so they don't have like a threat in the back of their mind that like, hey,
yeah, so like
I need to get my shit good because I'm going somewhere.
And it doesn't take much to trigger it, right? So when I joined, like I said, it was pre 9/11. I was running into debt for college. I was stupid. I'm in a terrible job, making no goddamn money. So my buddy's like, "Hey, let's join the Army." I said, "All right, let's go," because I don't like to say no to things, apparently. So then 9/11 happens, and then it's just a trigger. I think men are just born with it. It's like, all right, I have purpose now. I have something to go fight for, right? I got to defend my family and my nation. So, and for a decade or more, that was the life I lived. It was, in 11 years, I deployed 3 times. I've lived in the Mideast for over 2 years of my life, between 2001 when I deployed, or 2002, up to 2013. So I've been in Saudi Arabia, Baghdad, Kandahar, Afghanistan. But even with all that, it was Hurricane Katrina. I spent 3 weeks down there helping that.
Okay.
I worked the border in Arizona for 3 weeks. I was in Italy for 3 weeks. So it was just a very, as the Army calls it, a high up-tempo environment. So now that I'm on the back end, like athletes, right, and the military is the same deal. I'm 42 years old. I am ancient as far as soldiers go. The soldiers are all 20-something. Mm-hmm. So my mentality is way different than theirs. I'm always asking, like, what the fuck are these guys doing? Well, that's what they came up with.
Yeah.
There is no fight. There is no bad guy.
Yeah.
I think once they have purpose again, I think you'll see
purpose.
That.
Yeah.
I think that trigger will switch.
I would almost compare that to what I see in football, because over the last several years that I've coached, I see a change in the men there. Mm-hmm. Now, when we played, you fucking laid out for a ball. Mm-hmm. You mean, like, you won't see kids. You will not see these kids sacrifice themselves. You will not see them. If they're about to get a ball that's a little bit overthrown, they will not lay the fuck out. Mm-hmm. That's not a thing they're willing to do. And they will tell you a stupid excuse, like, I'm not trying to get dirty. I'm like, you know, you're telling me that as a man, right? Like, I know you think it's just an excuse. Something like, bro, you know what I mean? Like, that's such it's to me crazy, right? And then defensively, you will not see these guys. You only see 1 or 2 guys that are willing to sacrifice their body, make a full fucking big hit,
and have a killer instinct.
And have killer instinct. I see is very few and far in between, and I don't know if that is because of purpose. Like, we have kids' purpose, because you know, when you got on your fucking bike and rode into town, I'm like, I either make it to my friend's house or the fucking bullies are on their bikes and they catch me trying to get my way over. Or when I used to live in Bear,
right.
When we used to live over in fucking Beck's Woods, trying to cross over to Fox Run. I told you a hedgerow story, like I had to get through the hedgerow, and hopefully those motherfuckers weren't there. If they were, it's a fucking sprint. My purpose was to save my ass. Let's go. But I do see that with the young men. I don't see like.
So I've been coaching youth football for 9 years now with my buddy. I've been his assistant. I see the same exact thing, and I think you can see it even in the NFL. That group mentality, that brotherhood. Mm-hmm. It's dwindled from the 11 or 22 down to maybe a handful of them.
Yeah.
Right? And the social media, whatever has context of time, all those things I think play a part in it. The military is the same exact way. You have a handful of guys, and we surround ourselves with each other, which maybe we'll get into it later, that nonprofit I'm with. Mm-hmm. That was a small collective that said, that's it. We need to go do something different.
Yeah.
Because the larger group isn't participating anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then focus on growing that smaller entity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Youth football, we have one kid. He's a man. He looks like a man amongst boys. He is aggressive. He wants it. He's the biggest kid on the team. He's not the fastest, but he's always the first one done. Mm-hmm. He's coaching out there at the same time he's playing. And this is a 13-year-old boy. But you can see already, like, that's a man.
That's the leadership.
That is a man.
Yeah.
Already, it's crazy.
And nobody taught him that.
So nobody taught him that. And as that group gets smaller, I think those individuals become more identifiable, right? Yeah. We see them now, and then we just go surround ourselves, right? 3 of us are sitting here as a small group because we went. I gotta surround myself with those guys.
Yeah, man. And that's the comforting thing. Mm-hmm. Is like the bullshit we don't really like is not gonna. You can't last. There's no longevity in that.
Right.
And because now you're going to start seeing the small segments of people, and they're going to grow, and it's going to overtake. It's the same as a trend with clothes, right? So that there's comfort in that at least. Mm-hmm. It's just riding through it. I think we're in a piece of a generation that's pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dude, we could sit here and talk all fucking day.
I'll tell you what, I don't. Speaking of dude dads, that's why I look at those kids. Yeah. The ones that are being soft, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy's dad like?
He's probably not there.
Probably not there.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Do you think that I don't like saying like negative things about people, but you're right. There's some fathers out there that aren't the manliest of men, mm-hmm. and they're a little soft, and they don't have an ounce of aggression, or big time beta males, right? And they're procreating, mm-hmm. and now they've got a kid now and do you think that because the world as a whole, and especially our world, has gotten so easy to get to eat, to have shelter, to have creature comforts, it's allowed these men to anyone can find a wife and procreate, and now they're having kids, where 100 years ago that man wouldn't have lasted. He would have gotten eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. That's millions of years ago, but 100 years ago, he wouldn't have. Only the strong survived.
Yeah.
So, and I say this is a very real thing. I'm not saying anything bad, but is that why we do have a segment of our population as men that are softer and not more manly, not harder, because life is so easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have to fight for anything.
I'll do that.
We don't have to hunt for our food. We don't have to chop firewood for heat and light. Right? We don't have to do any of that shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's creating a man that is not built for raising strong alpha males.
And now you have them pushing their insecurities onto us and making us trying to feel weird.
You don't have to do that.
I'm like, hey,
why are you hunting? You don't have to hunt.
Yeah.
Like, you know how happy I am that my family doesn't buy grocery store meat. Like, that's I don't have to do that. I can afford to go and buy, beef at the store, but there's something a little bit better about it.
And you see in sports,
killing all your own protein.
It's like, well, you should be out there hitting him like that. He's not comfortable doing that. I'm like, then don't be here. We didn't create the sport around the kid. Like, it's already, it's been this.
Yeah.
Man, the pushing insecurities is definitely.
Yeah, I think some of that exists, and I believe those type of men do have their place
for sure
in the environment. I also think it's just become too easy to walk away from responsibility, right?
Oh, yeah.
We've seen that over time, right?
Walk away, yeah.
Yeah, you look at like the early half of the 19th century, and everybody stayed home. The nuclear family was incredibly powerful back then, on all sides. And then we've drifted away from that. I mean, the destruction of that piece, just taking that male role model out of the house, has had crippling effects all across the board.
100%.
And I think that's terrible. And then that's where we start to see it in sports. We start to see it in the job environment.
Yep.
Guys aren't, we've taken away the labor jobs, but the ones that are doing it, those guys are, those are men. But you see everybody like, well, I can't. I'm not getting dirty today.
I don't want to be.
Why would I do that?
I had a renter like that. I told you that story. I had a renter that during COVID, his wife was the dude. She fucking was a hairdresser. She's handing me straight cash. She's like, I'm about this. I'm working.
Yeah.
He's got to pay his half, right? So he's like 3 months behind on his half, right?
Jesus Christ.
And I'm like, hey, he probably says again, I don't have my job anymore. I'm like, okay. I was like, you should have told me. I could get you a job at it's construction. You can fucking you can clean the construction dirt. I'll pay you by the day. And so I was like, well, you owe me money. So and I'm thinking like I'm thinking for him like he's thinking like I think, which would be I need to fucking survive.
That's a big
he has a kid. Yeah, it's the big mistake. Because I say, okay. I said, I got a tile buddy who needs work. I got my concrete guy who needs work. So, like, I can get you work every single day. And he goes, yeah, I'm not really looking for that kind of work. Like,
See, that's it right there.
Yeah. You make $0. Yeah. I'm offering you $2.
Yes, I think like
you'll take the $0.
It's a no-brainer,
and
right?
I'm thinking, dude, he's got a smoking hot wife. I'm like, how did she get with you? She didn't go.
Well, now she's become because it's a woman, right? She's an enabler. She's a caretaker, right? Now her purpose is I got to make him survive.
Yeah.
His purpose should be I need to make her life easier.
Yeah. She's a good woman.
Yeah.
She stepped up right where she had to be. She stepped up. She's a great woman. She's not like, I'm going to be the head wear the pants in the family.
But I think that can only exist temporarily.
Yeah, right? It can because a woman.
Eventually, she's going to want to go back to being the wife, the mother.
She left him.
Because she wants to be a wife.
She found out she's a loser.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only do that so long, and she's going to see other men like, oh, mine's not that great. Because she was young. She got a little bit older. She started understanding the world. It's like, mine's not that great.
It's funny you brought that stuff up. I used to work at Gander Hill. I used to be a correctional officer years ago. And it was the same mentality as those individuals inside of a prison. Like, what else am I going to do? I'm like, well, you can go lay concrete. Like, they're always hiring. You can cut fucking grass. You can go start your own lawn care business. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Well, because it's hard work, right?
Yeah.
I just want to sell drugs. That's easy. Like, you're willing to spend, and he's doing the same thing. His prison isn't physical. It's mental, right?
Yeah.
He's trapped in his own little prison because I don't want to go do something hard.
Oh,
like,
my gosh.
You'd rather do that? Nothing at all? And then bitch that you don't have anything?
Yeah, that's the worst. Like, man, don't complain to me if you ain't got no solution.
I watched my dad raised me. Him and my mother split up when I was very young. He worked the shittiest shifts forever, making almost no money.
Mm-hmm.
That selfless sacrifice all those years, that helped build me into who I am.
For sure.
Right? But he was like, I gotta feed this little motherfucker, right? Yeah. So, and it's that mentality, like, you gotta eat. Yeah. He didn't eat sometimes.
Yeah.
I ate.
Yeah.
Right? I slept when he wasn't sleeping.
Yeah.
And so it's that. Like, I appreciate that lesson he wasn't even trying to teach, but you saw then. Like,
that lesson right there. I mean, that's a fucking, like...
Midnight shift, 20-some years.
Oof.
Just getting up and grinding.
Yeah.
Missing shit. Missing every goddamn thing.
Yeah. And when you're when you're in it, you didn't understand it.
Like, you don't understand as a kid because he's like, my dad's not missing this because he's an asshole. He's like, he's fucking provided.
Yeah.
I understand.
So I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Is your dad still alive?
Yeah.
Okay. My dad passed away. His dad passed away. We all had same thing. Blue collar dad.
Yeah.
Worked 80 hours a week.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like physical labor the majority of his life, right? My dad missed so many Saturday football games.
Yeah.
So many things. And I wasn't ever mad about it. Well, I knew he's got to work. He's the breadwinner. That's just the way it was. And then sometimes you also feel like, I remember being a kid being like, God, man, why does he got to be so mean? Or so like, why is he yelling? Or like, what these, I don't want to say demands, but these like standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you like understand
standards.
Yeah.
He didn't want you to be a pussy.
But when you're a kid, you're like, fuck, it sucks. But then you get a little bit older and you appreciate it, and then you become friends with your dad. And then when you become a dad, and my dad passed away when I was 22, so I wasn't a father yet.
Yeah.
So, but like, still to this day, things happen, and I'm like, fuck, man, now I know. Like, I realize, and there's always little tiny things, like, all right, now I'm seeing it, now I understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it comes through getting through that, right? Like, you have kids now, you and your wife are you do everything you can to get these kids off onto their own, and that's a lot of pressure. And this is why guys walk away. This is why women walk away. But
so crazy people do
I'm raising 2 kids, and I have to give them everything they need, or I think they need, to be successful after they turn 18. That's a tremendous amount of information to try to give somebody.
And we also want to give our kids better than we had.
Absolutely.
There's like that little thing too. It's like what's you're bouncing on a razor blade between like spoiling and just trying to make it better for them than you had it.
Yeah.
So we've had this conversation plenty of times in my house. Again, it's no secret. I didn't grow up with a lot of things. I didn't have a lot of money. It was me and my dad, 1-bedroom apartment, no apartment, whatever it was. But you're right, that razor blade, I tell my oldest daughter all the time, like, I can't show you how to appreciate things. I can only tell you. You're never going to see the things the way I see them, because we do well. I do well in my house. My kids get almost anything they want. Not to a point where they're spoiled. They still have to work hard for it, but I can't show them how to be hungry. Right. I can only tell them about it because the fridge is always full. Well, it wasn't when I was little.
Exactly.
Right. But I can teach the lesson in different ways. I can find different methods to show them, like, hey, this is how the world really works.
Yeah.
It's not a fantasy. I think the one principle that I always try to follow is, if I knew then what I know now, they are now my then, right? My kids are my then.
God, that's fucking gold.
They're my then. So now I tell them, like, hey, when I was your age, I wish I knew this. I'm giving it to you.
Yeah.
Don't waste opportunity. And that's all I'm trying to do, is give them opportunity.
So you guys want to wrap this up?
We just had this conversation. I said some of the lessons that I have a ton of lessons I want my son and my daughter to learn. But there's what I really want to do is there's some shit they don't need to learn that I had to go through.
Absolutely.
And I told Jerry, I said, unfortunately, and I have the back and the shoulders for it.
Yep.
Being a dude, I'm the first to the wall.
Yeah.
I unfortunately sold my soul a few times. I did what I had to fucking do, and I learned all the lessons. I learned all the what to do's and what the fuck not to do's. And there's just some lessons that my kids, they do not need to learn, and they don't need to be in those positions that I was in. Now, with that said, I'm going to set those motherfuckers up for some hardship. I do not want them to I don't want them to go clean. If my son came to me, let's say my business really blew up, or this blew up, and we're doing really well, I would never give that dude money. I'd say, I will show you how to make money. You will make it on your own, because if I hand you this shit, you're going to be the person I didn't want to make. Like, this is not what we're doing. I want you to, first off, I don't even know what you're going to like. You know what I mean? I don't know if he wants to do construction. I'm cool with whatever he wants to do. I just want him to be, when he looks back, like, that was me. I made that. You know, my dad was there through me. He was quietly, like, showing me things to do. And so I'll give him the options. I'll say, look, I don't think you should do it that way, or you should do it this way, and I'll let that motherfucker learn. He can learn. Yeah. Now, I like to save him from some of that shit I did not need to learn. Save him from all that shit.
Yeah, that's the piece of, like, the generations that you want to get a little bit better.
That's bettering the pedigree, as we were saying.
Yeah, that's another good one.
We did something similar in my house. Because I can't show my daughter, like, when I was young and, wanted something, I had to go get it. But she doesn't have to go get it. So what we did is I drew up a contract. We made her sign the contract on chores. We sat together. We negotiated it. We negotiated a salary. We got her a little bank card. It's a green light card. She has to put money on it. Any money she gets, she goes on it, but also 2% of that has to get saved into an account where it has stocks in it. So
I like this.
Right? So I did that because, again, she's my then. So I didn't know anything about money when I was little. You get $1 in your pocket, you go to the Costco, and you buy 50 pencils, right?
I got it. I never had it. Let's go get the show on it.
When I was little, I lived in Greenfield Manor, not far from Beck's Wood.
Yeah.
And it was, all right, I'm going to go up and get a tasty cake pumpkin pie from Conoco.
Conoco.
Yeah, right. Dude. Yeah, we're still like 50.
Well, I was going to say Conoco was good for Robin. Oh my God.
We'll go to the 5-star video.
In so long, it's crazy.
Or I go over to the 5-star video and rent a game for nothing,
Conoco.
Right? But then my $2 are gone, and now my daughter, way more disciplined than I ever was as a kid. She's on top of things. I got to give her some praise here in a second. Saves her money. She saves up for the things that she wants. She's very disciplined on it. So here's the praise part where I know it's working. So in May, COVID hit my daughter hard, right? She was going through middle school. It was a difficult time, isolated. She put on a couple pounds, no big deal. In May, she goes, I want to get in shape. So CrossFit twice a week. She started calorie counting, and she hasn't stopped. 25 pounds later, she's on the freshman, and her confidence has grown tremendously, right?
That's the biggest thing.
We gave her purpose, and then the results happened, and then she built confidence, right? So seeing the steps work, and you see it as dads, right? Like when the steps work, you're like, oh fuck, man, that worked. That's
and then
great.
She saw it too.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
I can teach lessons all day. If the result doesn't turn into a positive effect, they'll never do it again. And it's crushing for kids, right?
It is.
You know how kids give up. You see it on the field. They give up quick.
Mm-hmm.
Failure kills kids.
Yeah.
Because they won't go fail again.
Yeah.
Which we have to keep teaching. I teach my kids all the time. Like, hey, I'm cool. Fuck up all the time.
Yeah.
Fuck up.
Yeah.
Please. Because you're going to learn and you'll get better and better and better. And it seems today, it seems to be working at this point.
How old are your kids?
So my oldest will be 15 soon, and my youngest will be 9 in like 2 weeks.
You know, it's crazy. I mean, and I don't. It's not like I know your kids that well. Which actually, side note, it's kind of funny because like Charlotte and Chase chat on Facebook Messenger. It's so crazy to me.
I don't see half the kids she ever talks to. I know them.
I know. Yeah,
they're all best friends. It's incredible.
Yeah, but anyway, but like Riley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your oldest, and I. Sounds so weird. I remember when she was born because of fucking MySpace. And like Nikki posting pictures on MySpace of like your first daughter being born. Yeah. And then you think like, hey, she's 15. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. That's wild, man. But so yeah, my kids are younger. His kids are even younger. So Charlotte's 10, Jerry's Gary turns 6. Bacon's what, 3?
Megan's 3. Ellie just turned
1
today, dude.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome.
So like it's nice hearing things.
Yeah.
Because like you could teach Riley, you could explain things to her, she'll understand it. Mm-hmm. Charlotte's like just getting ready to get there. Right? Yeah. She still has like certain aspects that are like a little bit immature. And Jerry, he's 5 and he's a knucklehead 5 boy. You really can't explain anything to him. It's like, how can we dumb this down or show you? And what kind of whatever. So it's nice hearing that. I'm putting like notes in my toolbox as you're talking.
We're saving this for later.
Yeah, for sure. But, anytime I like to learn from other parents too.
Yeah.
I like how you're raising your kids, so I will take advice from you. Mm-hmm. If I somebody else that like I'm not gonna have a beer with or whatever, and they're talking about parenting, like, well, yeah, I'm not. You're just in one ear out the other. I'm not going.
Yeah, I think it and you can see it through even the podcast that you guys are doing. That knowledge is useless if not shared, right?
Yes.
We have to pass these things along. And my daughter, she did a thing for school or whatever, but one of the things that she put in there, she was like, everything seems to be a lesson. Everything that she does or that I see her doing is a lesson. Mm-hmm. It might be the smallest lesson that day. Like, hey, this is why you don't look at TikTok at this, or this is why the dollar matters, or this is why this matters. And I can't give her enough information because, again, we got to get them to 18. Once they're adults, hey, man, I gave you every opportunity I could physically give you. Yeah. It's up to you not to squander it. So it's just keep passing those lessons along, and hopefully they take it. Sometimes they don't. Yeah. You can be the most amazing parent ever, and kids still can turn out to be shitbags. Yeah. It just happens. But
that's why I didn't have too many of them. There's always a shitbag with too many kids. That's why I was like, two's cool. I mean, usually a third or 4 months.
Your odds are pretty good with 2.
Yeah. I just want to have the comfort that once they step out that door on their own, I can go, all right, I did my part.
Yeah.
It's up to you now.
And I want them to make a difference. Yeah. I want them to. I want someone else to come back to me like your kid's a good kid. Like they, you know what I mean? Like,
that's the best thing.
It's the greatest thing to hear, right? When another parent is like, "Hey, man, I really appreciate your kid. Yeah, they're nice, they're cordial,
Right.
Like those things, like, oh man, I'm doing all right, I guess.
I hear you're a shithead at home.
Yeah.
As long as you can be good out there, and other people are saying that to me, then
I
must be doing something.
My kids are saying outside, "Well, nap for anybody ASAP." When the outside world comes home, it's like, "I'll do none of that shit."
Man, that's completely fine. I'll live with that.
Yeah.
I'll live with you being
As long as it's working out there, and here we can fucking work. We're back.
Yeah, man. And you hear that like parent-teacher conferences, and which you'll get into this year. You know what I mean?
Oh, I can't wait. I can't, dude. When I'm a kid, oh my god.
Yeah, Charlotte's been easy. I got to the point now with Charlotte, I'm like, tell me something bad. I know all the good shit. Tell me something.
I had so bad as a kid, man. I was such an ornery kid. Dude, that's why
bacon's not far from it.
Dude, I cannot wait for a parent. Because I'm going to tell kids, like, what am I going to tell him?
Yeah.
I had 1,300 of these as a kid. You know what I mean? I had ISSs and kicked out and but never an asshole, just too ornery. Like, Tom, come on, man.
Yeah, I wasn't a bad kid.
I wasn't a bad kid, just bored in a small town. You know what I mean? You might lose a mailbox or two. You know what I mean?
So, your daughters are those ages. Obviously, a chunk of them you were away on deployment.
Yeah.
Like how does that? Fascinating is the only word that comes to mind about fascinating how that works with a wife and daughters and you not being there, and you talk about the family dynamic.
Yeah.
What is that like?
So I'll give you, each deployment was a little different, right? First deployment I was single. My wife now ended up being my pen pal, basically.
Oh, okay.
And that's how.
They have a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
You can tell that if you want to.
So, long story short, my dad and her uncle worked together. We both came out of bad relationships. Young, came out of bad relationships.
Okay.
I go overseas, and it was a matter of time. Worked out great for us. Because again, we both just came out of these shit relationships. And then he said, hey, this guy's overseas. Email him, Yahoo, beep, whatever. So imagine dial up in Saudi Arabia. It was terrible in 2002. So she emails me, and then we talk, and then we talk, and then we talk. So we talked for 8 months. By the end of that 8 months, we knew, like, oh, this is forever.
I like
we're going to be together forever.
Yeah, you start at a good place, not physical.
Yeah.
You start on like the good mental.
So we got all the bullshit out the way, right?
Yeah.
Like, we knew all the mistakes from the previous relationship, and then we said, we're not going to do that again. Like I told her, I said, I'll never ask you to ditch your friends for me. Your friends are your friends. That's the family you chose. And it worked out. Like, that's how I met you, right?
Yeah.
You knew my wife. That's how a lot of the people I know is because of her. So we get together, get married. I then, a year after we get married in 06, 07, 08, I'm in Baghdad. So now I'm married and deployed. So I went from single to married. Very difficult. Because as a soldier, you deploy, you're like, one, I don't know if I'm ever coming home. That was the surge for that war.
So
it was the deadliest time. Yeah, so it was the deadliest time frame for the Iraq war. And that was 07, 08, we went. So I was like, I don't know if I'm fucking coming back. I hope my wife is there when I come back, right? I believed she would be there, but you hear horror stories all the time, like, oh, hubby went away, wife took everything, right? And I don't condemn them for that, if that's what happens. That's a difficult thing to go through.
Yeah.
And unless you've been through it, you really don't know how that truly feels.
Sure.
She also ends up having, and I hope she doesn't get mad at this part, but early in my deployment, she has a miscarriage. So now I'm away, my wife's home, and she needs me, and I'm not there.
Oh my
so it's
gosh,
crippled,
yeah.
right? But the positive I'll take from all that is I begin to build mental resiliency, which I think men need to have, right?
Yeah.
It's a tough time. Let me find the positive in this. We're going to be better when I get home. Come home, we're better. We're good. Then I have my daughter. So then in 2013, I deployed again. Now I'm in Kandahar, Afghanistan, married, kid, 10,000 miles away in one of the deadliest countries in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like, fuck. And the base I'm on in Kandahar is far more remote than the other two I was on. Each deployment progressively got worse as far as living standards go. So now I got, like I said, a wife, kid, and it's just, it is crippling mentally at times. Like, I want to be home. It's harder for them than it was for me. Because as men, I go over, I have a job to do.
Yeah.
Look at
purpose.
Look at the picture every day. Wife and kids, my purpose. Try not to die today, right? Like, let's just get through the day.
Yeah.
I have a job to do. Do the job, come home, and then have another kid. Luckily, I haven't had to go away, so my youngest doesn't know anything about deployments. Wife and oldest one, they know all about it. And it was tough. It was very difficult. And one of the lessons I had coming home was to allow her to allow me back in. She wants me to come right back in, and I want to jump right back in, but also she's got new rhythms. She's got a new pace. I have to be careful not to upset that and slowly reintegrate myself. My wife was incredibly patient with me, especially when I'm doing nothing for like weeks on end.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying to find my role again.
Yeah.
You go from don't die to, oh, I'm back to paying bills, back to going to work. Like it is a trippy kind of thing, and it's why a lot of guys can't handle deploying and coming home. It really messes with them, because here is hard.
Yeah.
Getting up every day and going to work, trying to figure out how you're going to eat, pay your bills, raise a family. You deploy or you're active duty military, somebody's going to tell you when to eat, somebody's going to tell you where the hell to be. They take that off your plate for you. And I think that's why you get to see a lot of guys that have a lot of anxiety when they come back and all that jazz. I've been lucky. I have a strong family, strong friends. So it was easy for me. I'm not going to say it was easy. It was less painful to reintegrate over the years. Each one progressively got harder to leave, but got easier to come home. Especially when you have a strong nuclear family. When you have a strong family, anything is easy. Now compared to days you're working long, right? Maybe you're grinding away for a week or two on a job. You're not home every night the way you should be. Well, that starts to take its toll. You're grumpy, you're mad, right? The wife doesn't understand, you're snappy.
Yep.
Right? Like, hey, bitch, get off my ass. It's like, did you see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Usually a good wife, though, she'll back up, give you that little bit of space, and it works out. So
that the part about you reintegrating back to the family is, I've always wondered about that, because you're right. There's routines now. Now the wife has figured all this stuff out, and reintroducing someone actually fucks it up.
yes,
So
creatures of habit, right?
So how do you meld it back together?
Yeah.
You know.
And that was me really just allowing her to let me back in. Now, whether she was cranky about letting me in, or whether she was joyous to give me something back, I just had to be patient. We both had to be patient with each other,
dude.
And finding that balance is tough. It's really hard.
What about the kids? How do they receive you just the same? Do they need almost a moment, or they're ready to just jump right back?
I needed more time than my daughter did. Like she was great right off the gate. Yeah. I was paranoid, like, because she was 4 turning 5. I was like, my kid's not going to like me anymore.
Oh,
like,
God, yeah.
That's frightening.
Oh,
like,
my God.
I left them like, my kid, she's not gonna know what to do. I'm gonna be a fucking stranger. Because kids, they change so fast.
Yeah, at that age, for sure.
How long was your deployments?
So, it was a year for the first 2, and then the Afghanistan one was about 7 months, I want to say, total time. So we got cut short, which was good.
In the kids' world, that's a long time.
That's long enough.
Yeah, a week is like a month for them. It's a lot. So
I guess especially once and when you leave again, then they kind of remember those old feelings. And do you see a change right before you're going to leave? Everyone's like, oh, I need to get cold before Dad leaves, or like
it's so the psychology part about going away is fascinating when you look at it, because I don't know exactly how they feel or the changes that go through for them, but like, when a soldier's getting ready to deploy, especially when it's overseas, and especially during the 20 years of war we were at, you enter like, everything's the last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to eat like shit, I'm going to drink, I'm going to have a good fucking time, because I'm never going to do this again. I'm probably not coming back. Now, luckily, the mass majority of us.
Is there a percentage on that? Like a percentage of do they tell you like, this is your percentage of this could really happen?
So you can kind of have an idea. I like the odds. The mass majority of soldiers that deployed all came home. All came home okay. All came home not injured. Now those special ops guys, those dudes really into the trenches, like those dudes get fucked up. But that's not the majority. That's the minority.
Okay.
So, but those guys, they're the fucking men. Those dudes are awesome. So they toy around with that number, but it's really, you go, you do your job, you come home.
Yeah.
This is a difficult job, mentally and physically at times.
But is before your deployment, do you force yourself to be like, this is the last time? You just to make does it make you feel better to go to assume that like you're not going to come home or something?
I don't know if it makes it better. it's just a hard thing to navigate around. It's a hard thing to get out of your head.
That's it, right?
Like, you want to go in with a positive attitude.
I said, you want a good mindset.
It's not a good mindset to think that this is the last time, and it's not one I ever portrayed, especially as a leader.
But you can't ignore that.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's
so
you got to find a way to balance it, right? Like, now I'm going to come back, and then there's times you're like, I don't know, it's a little hairy today.
Yeah.
But as a leader, I never showed guys. I was always like, hey, we're going to be fine today.
Yeah.
Everything's going to work out.
Just like you tell your kids.
Yeah. Just like I tell
You're
my
never going to
kids.
show your kids that you're scared.
Right. And there's been times, as dads, there's times that you don't know what tomorrow looks like, but your kids will never know that. I've been scared for my family at times, and I'm like, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Everything will be okay.
We'll figure it out. Always.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, the smallest lessons, right? We had to put my dog down. Hardest thing. One of the hardest things I've ever done. One, fuck a dog for loving you unconditionally. That's terrible.
I'm with it.
That is horrible. Right? But my oldest stayed in there. My youngest, she stayed in there through the whole process until he passed.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is incredible.
Yeah.
So sometimes I need them. They didn't know that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, you explaining all your journeys, right?
Yeah.
Through deployments and marriage and being a father and how you navigated those. I don't think that's something that most men are capable of stepping up to. I think you had that in you way before you knew it. You know what I mean? Do you think so?
Some of it. So I attest some of it to the way I had to be raised. Again, I was raised by a single father. We moved around a lot. We didn't have a lot of money. I didn't know it at the time, but I was being taught valuable lessons on how to get
hardship.
I did know what it was like to suck. So that piece was, but there was some luck in that too, that I was able to recognize it.
Yeah.
There's plenty of kids that live in the shit.
Yeah.
The poor areas of the neighborhood I lived in, those kids didn't make it.
Yeah.
It never clicked for them.
Yep.
Right? You see it all the time.
Yep.
You see it on the field, right? There's kids with money that play football, kids with no money that play football. Some of these kids don't make it. Some of these kids do make it. And then some of the kids that don't have any money, they're the hardest working kids out there. Because they see something. There's something clicking.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to make me a better person.
Yeah.
So I was able to recognize it. Now, look, I tried my damnedest to shit away as a kid.
Yeah.
Especially in high school. I was a terrible fucking student. My grades were trash. And then I turned 18 and I was like, oh, shit is for real.
Yeah.
So then I was able to look back and be like, oh, okay, let's look at all these lessons I've learned.
Yeah. Lunch ain't $1.50 no more.
Right?
How much is lunch now?
I think lunch is $1.50.
Oh.
I mean, like maybe it was like $1 something, $1.10 or something like that. But maybe 90 cents. I don't know. I've seen a bunch of lunch prices.
I went to the
in
store
my.
so many times without lunch money.
I don't know. All I know is double lunch every day, bro.
I was always negotiating burnt pizza. I'm like, yo, can we do 2 for 1 on the burnt slices? You know what I mean?
That's hard shit, bro.
And if they didn't, if I couldn't get 2 for 1, I'm like, let me get 2 for 1. I'm gonna eat one on the way to the cashier. We're doing one.
It's amazing what you'll do when you're hungry, right? Like the sacrifices you'll make when you need to eat.
I know.
That's all you can think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know when the more pressure I have or the more responsibilities on my shoulders, the better I perform. If things are easy, then I feel tired and like not really. But if things just hard and like if business is insane, then I'm like the happiest.
Yeah.
But you don't, when you think about it outside of it, 10 others will view, you're like, I don't want that. I want it better. But why are you the happiest when you're in the shit? When you're like, when your back's against the wall and you have to work to eat, right? And whether that means you're making your money and like keeping all the things running, right? But I think it's because that's what's ingrained. We're hardwired for that.
It's definitely in you. And for anybody that's a reader, I tell everybody, like especially as a young man, old, at any level of man, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl is an excellent book. And so like Freud was always like, hey, let's look at your past, how you got here. And Frankl was like, no, we have to have purpose. That's what drives us to live. Yeah. That's what he was in a concentration camp, and that's what drove him to survive. That was purpose, right? There is something in the future. I can't touch it now. I can't see it now. I can't hear it now, but it's there. And it's so when times are easy, you don't have purpose. You're a slug, right?
Yep.
Things, and all of a sudden, then you find yourself creating purpose. Like let me just start a project. Let me go do this. Let's start a nonprofit. Let's start a podcast. Yeah. It doesn't have to be necessarily a hard challenge, but we challenge ourselves. Like something else has to happen.
Yeah. You think that's why you get tired of being on vacation?
That may be.
You think of like after every like 7 or 10 days,
Oh, yeah.
fuck, I'm ready to go.
It's amazing going on vacation and having anxiety at the end of it. Like,
Yes.
I have to get back to doing shit.
Turn your phone back on.
Dude,
It's not that you have to get back to doing shit. You're like, I'm behind. I gotta work. I
Even though it's
get
fine.
shit done.
Even though it's fine. Remember,
a problem that exists.
you and I went tuna fishing a couple years ago, and like I go offshore a couple times every year, and like the greatest thing is that there's no phone signal out there.
Zero.
And then when you get like 3 miles in, and you just can't fucking help it, you turn your phone back on, and it's all the text messages, emails coming through. I'm like, oh my god. And me and my buddy, we fish a lot together, and like he owns a business, and we're all self-employed. And like, I don't want to fucking take off airplane mode.
Yeah.
I know what's coming, and I don't want this to end. But anyway, try not to go like long. I know we could fucking talk all day.
Yeah,
I'm trying to stop this motherfucker short.
No,
man.
but I want him to.
forever.
I want you to tell us about that nonprofit thing.
All right, so it was an idea. This guy Stephen Bart, he owns CrossFit Reconstructed. Younger than me, which I'm humble in finding mentors, leaders that of all ages. I can find something in everybody. He was burning out after Afghanistan, a lot on his plate. Entrepreneur, you know how difficult that job is. Girlfriend, thinking about getting married. Just a lot of things are tying him up, and he's like, I have to get a break. So he looked at that group, that small group I talked about earlier. He looked at a small group of guys. Was like, hey, I'm going to try to find a way to get somebody to pay for us to go away for a weekend. We're going to do some shooting. We're going to talk, and we're going to do some good shit, right? It ended up being called Shoot, Move, Communicate. So we go up there. We're just hanging out for the weekend. First night, we get plastered fucking drunk. Just around a good group of guys. And then by the end of the weekend, we had went to the range all day. We had done some good shit. But the big piece, we had a lot of good conversation. And we just were like, man, he goes, why don't we start a nonprofit? Why don't we make this a thing? We got to share this with other guys, other veterans, other first responders, guys that have been through the same shit as we have. So then fast forward another year, now we got nearly 20 people up there, same deal. The conversations are deep. We get some stuff out of people. One guy, he ends up losing it. So one guy is in Florida, super fit dude. This guy Ren, makes him great at cooking, super disciplined on his meals. And another guy, he ends up, they link together, so now that network's working. He's losing a ton of weight. He's inspired. He wants to be a better family man. He goes back to work. He gets a massive raise because he's like, hey, I need to be paid my worth. They're like, we agree. Kind of like, man, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
So we try to become more legit, start doing the LLC paperwork, all that shit last July. Now we're coming into our third year. We're going to have nearly 30 people up there this year. We're trying to small grow, but we're trying to find, our goal is to vet and find men that want to be leaders in their community, want to be leaders in industry, but leaders in their lives as well. And that's the biggest piece. I think those three principles, if we find the men that can do those things like we do right now, we can start to create a bigger network of men that has a much more powerful impact in all aspects of life. If you're a leader in those three industries, even just the littlest bit, you're going to have a major impact on the life that exists around you.
Yeah.
Dude, well, you just, the first one, you saw the ripple effect.
Yeah.
And how far away with it was those two things end up happening?
Yeah.
The majority of the East Coast,
Yeah.
right? Because we have PA?
So we go to PA. We have a guy in Boston. We have a guy in Florida. We got guys in Maryland, Jersey. We're flying a guy in from California this year, which is, we didn't think we'd ever be able to fly in somebody to help guest speak.
That's cool.
Right? So we're flying a guy in. We have this woman, Tamara Robelski. She does mobility stuff. She has a place in Jersey. She comes, fit right in, showed us a bunch of stuff, so we're humble. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we got guys that do that. We have one guy who fought on pay-per-view recently.
Yeah, right.
So like, our network is growing, and it's just a matter of we're trying to stop being so reclusive as men and saying, all right, let's talk, right?
Yeah.
Which we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we can be very sheltered, right? Especially the stronger the guy, the first thing he does when he comes in a room, he observes a room, right? It's not saying a fucking word.
Dude, that gets me in trouble all the time.
I
Yeah.
enter a room, there's a giant crowd. All right, I can feel it out without saying a word. Like, I'm not talking to these fucking people. I'm not talking to that fucking guy. That's my guy. I'm not going to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
So that's part of the process. We have to find these guys that are like-minded individuals that want to do it, but then give back also. So we tell them, like, hey, your weekend is done here. You need to go do shit now. I didn't volunteer much prior to this. I can't stop volunteering now.
Yeah.
I love the feeling of giving back. I love the feeling of getting involved in stuff. I'm ruck marching now for Project Recover.
Yes.
I talked to their CEO, Dr. Abby. They go out and they find missing soldiers in the Pacific, all over the world.
Damn.
That's their job, is to go find old dead bodies, right? Either the aircraft, shit, whatever it is.
Right.
So they go out and do that. So I'm like, man, I love your mission. I want to do this, right? So I want to keep doing more.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to the lessons too. I tell my kids, like, do more. Just keep doing more.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to be a superstar, but get involved.
Yeah.
And it's all because we started this nonprofit.
What's it called again?
It's called Redefining Warrior Culture.
Redefining Warrior
Yep.
Culture.
So
Okay. And you guys can be found.
So right now we got a small footprint. We're on Instagram. We're working on trying to get a website up and going.
Okay.
Send me the links.
Yeah,
That
so
would be-
we got
We
this.
can post them up
myself.
too with
Yes,
our stuff,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got this guy
It'll be
Bo.
official. We'll post it up.
The guy that does a lot of the photo stuff, Bo. We brought him on. The guy Steve Barr found him. He did work with Cleveland Browns,
Yes.
Baker Mayfield. He's done all this great work. Comes and he shoots. We
Yeah.
just so he was a guy that wasn't in the military, wasn't a first responder, but the same mentality, right?
Yeah.
He's willing to put the work in, right? You didn't serve, but you fit the same exact mold.
Yeah.
We like so.
Yeah. Well, we might have to make that happen. I might
Yeah.
have to make that trip up there.
We
You know,
can-
there's certain like types of men and women out there that sacrifice their own personal time for the greater good of their communities. Coaches are a big part of that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we all know coaches are our coaches, and when we're coaching
Yeah.
30 other knuckleheads, we're not spending time with our own.
Yeah.
But the family unit recognizes that it's bigger than just us.
Yeah.
We're here given to our little area. You know what I mean? We're gonna, because a lot of those kids need a strong man.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you one thing that got my head thinking around this is Charlotte's third grade teacher. I think it was second grade teacher was a man. It was the first time she had a man teacher, and I felt weird about it. I was like, "Fuck you, dude, teacher." And my daughter, what are you doing, Elmer's? And yeah, my wife's a teacher. My sister-in-law's a teacher, or she's a principal now. And they were like, no, we need people like him, because a lot of these kids don't have male figures in their house.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh shit, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I should be rejoicing that a guy, and he was a dude.
Yeah.
And like that, someone like that is an educator, and like my daughter didn't need it, right? But maybe someone else did. So okay, so wrapping your head around that, and like you can't just say like, oh, I can't believe you'd be a football coach and you spend all those hours away from your family. It's bigger than just you, right?
Yeah.
And you're setting examples for your own kid, and then that means your wife's got to make sacrifices. That means everybody does, right? But this gets much better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's your opportunity.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, hey, let's not hold this secret. We gotta share this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm hugely at fault for that. Like for years, I kept my mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
Then
You think that's the right thing?
Again, as a guy, I'm like, it's not my place.
Yes.
Now I'm seeing where the people need to hear it, right?
Yeah.
And you touched on something else, time. I get mad when people say, I don't have time for this or I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing that we can sacrifice, because it's the one thing you can't get back, right?
Nope.
You don't get time back.
Yep.
I've coached youth football with my buddy for 9 years. I don't have a kid that plays football. I never have. I never will.
Yep.
But I sacrifice that time, and I hope my kids see that, right? But also, I'm hustling from there. I'm at my daughter's volleyball game. I'm coming back, picking the other kid up,
Yeah.
this. We're willing, I think, as men, to sacrifice more time than is allowable at times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you make the time.
We'll run the battery all the way down. And then
Yep.
even after that, they're like, hey, we got to get up at 4 and go do this. Like,
Yeah.
all right, let me get a cup of coffee. I'll be on my
Dude,
way.
that's brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal, man.
I think it's the most appreciative thing at the same time, right? If we can,
Oh yeah.
if you can give me your time in a positive way to make a positive impact, and it goes back to that nonprofit, then we're gonna make huge changes.
Yeah. I want to learn more about that. That sounds like I like shooting. I like exercising.
Oh, you go, man.
I like getting drunk with dudes.
Yeah.
No, and like, you know, that these conversations are also inspiring too, because you're like,
Yeah.
dang,
I do need to do more.
I feel like I do a lot. Like I do
We
feel
have
like,
some avenues where I know
Yeah.
where we go to actually
And
spend some time.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. So like the three things that we do CrossFit, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we shoot. I'll be honest with you, those are 3 things that aren't on the top of the list of the shit I want to do on the weekend. Right? I don't want to roll around with dudes. Yeah. But I also understand that it's a bigger thing than that, right? Yeah. It's this shared experience, just like football players, right? You get into a room with guys that play football or coach football, conversations spark up immediately. And that's what our veterans, our first responders, we all have this connection that's unspoken, that we all think we know each other for decades. Most of the guys I've only met once. So, and it's that shared experience. Yeah, you learn lessons when people admit they don't want to do it and they do it. Yeah, and I'm going to leave here today. I feel like we've known each other forever already. Yeah. And it's just that internal, unspoken connection I think that men have.
Yeah. Well, I like we touched on earlier. I was showing you guys that. That's my dad coaching Newcastle Bulldogs, and that's when I first learned about sacrificing your time. Because he used to coach Newcastle Bulldogs. That's him with a dog bone in his hand. And I remember as a kid looking at that photo, like, I understand my dad giving time.
That is a great fucking picture.
Yeah, and I remember, like, okay, my dad was like, that was the first, like, he's a dude, and he's sharing the dude with other people. Like, he's giving back. And I understood that as a kid.
You're not getting paid.
No.
And we try to remind the boys on our football team, hey, we don't get paid for this. We're talking all day. We're drawing up plays at our desks. We're sacrificing a lot of personal time to try to make you better. Yeah. Just give us something back.
I have that talk about my kids all the time. I'm a head coach for tennis too, and those motherfuckers, when they act up, I'm like, it literally costs me money to come here. I'm leaving a job site early to come here because it starts early.
Do not waste my time.
You're talking to high school kids that like okay, I guess I can understand that.
Do we have enough time to touch on one more thing?
Yeah, go for it. I'm
the one thing I like that you said that I thought only I was doing, because I'm an asshole and my wife calls me out for this, is I observe the shit out of other men when we go to a place.
Absolutely.
And she always says, "Can you please talk?" You know, people like when you talk to them. I'm like,
you have to size them up first.
I size the fuck out of people when I first meet them, dude. I'm sitting there quiet, like,
I'll beat that guy up.
I let them. I let them show me themselves, and because I already know, like. I already know that I'm willing to engage with them. I already know that. I'm not like I'm not coming in there cocky. I'm just like, if they're a dude and they show me that a little bit, then I'll ease in, because I don't want to be drinking a beer with somebody that I don't care about, because I'm not. We talked about this. I'm not good at doing the small talk. I'm not good at it. Like, hey, how's the weather? I'm like, what are we doing? Let's talk about something. So we go to parties, and like some of her new family and stuff that she's got now. Like, I remember we left the party. And she's like, everyone was so happy that you were talking to them, like they love you. I'm like, well, some of them showed me like they're dudes, and now I feel comfortable with them, because also I got my kids around them. I don't know if they're fucking weirdos.
So you're leading into something, is that again, there's certain things that are just built into men. One, you go in there, you're observing a room, but one of the biggest pieces of that is you're there still to protect your family.
Yes.
That's why you're sizing the room up. And it's hard to conceptualize that sometimes, but you're going in like, I got to make sure this is a safe place. It's very archaic. It's very bear-like, right? Like, I'm going in here, and once it's a safe environment, it's like, I'll take that beer now.
And
we don't necessarily have to be that way anymore.
But people underestimate that.
The majority of the time, we don't have to be concerned about that, but it's not a bad thing that you are concerned about.
It's never going to go away.
It's not.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Don't even know. Ken's sister one time, this is we're going for our first date. My son is I think maybe 1, and we're going on my wife and I's first date in almost a year, right? So it's all prepped. She's like, my sister's going to come watch. I told her for like 2 weeks. She's like, all right, well, don't tell her boyfriend to come over. She's like, she's not going to bring her boyfriend. I'm like, I've been at every babysitter's house whenever I had a girlfriend. I'm like, that motherfucker's showing up. And sure enough, but I don't know him.
Yeah.
I don't like his vibes. So this is all known. This is all out of public. And he showed up. I said, either you tell him to politely leave, or I'm going to walk over there and make this awkward, because now I feel a threat is at my house right now. Like, this ain't
happening. And you feel that building up.
I tell, because she knows, it's like, she knows, like, it's here. I don't know how to deal with it unless it's taken care of. Like, it's happening right now. That is a threat at my house right now. Like, I don't know this other guy, but what I know is he's stronger to overpower everyone else at this house.
Yeah.
That's what I see. And I'm like, I don't know him like that. You know what I mean? Like, this is, so we need to take care of this problem right now. And the same thing, even with their closer family or like extended family. And you know the odds of shit too. Like, there's some other situations where I'm like, like make it don't spend the night at certain people's houses or nothing like that. I'm like, and I tell Cass, like, please don't put us in a situation, where we get invited to certain things happen so that we don't have an awkward conversation later, because I have to nip things in the butt now. I will never lose my kid to, well, it was uncomfortable, or it's going to the old classic, it'll be okay. I'm like, I ain't doing that with him or her, especially
I'm not gambling with my children and my wife.
I'm not gambling shit with them.
No.
I ain't gambling on that. So yeah, the observing, I thought I was the only asshole doing that.
I think it's the majority of us. That's that internal protector that we have built into our code, right? Like that's what we do, and everywhere, in every scenario. I do it driving, I do it going into a restaurant, I do it going to a house party. Like it's
you probably more so than the average because you've seen like shitty parts of the world.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You're like, I'll admit it. Like, I'm not military. I don't want to say that I don't have the luxury of not knowing or not seeing firsthand, I should say. So that is a luxury that I have that. But I also try to be aware that even though I'm not experienced in it, in like seeing shitty things like police officers and military and all that people do, I also don't pretend it doesn't exist either.
Yeah, I think just having an understanding how fragile the world really is and appreciate what we have here.
Yeah.
Like, I think the greatest statement is, like, being born in this country, you hit the lottery. You hit the life lottery. You go anywhere else in the world, and just one misstep gets your whole family murdered. Like, your whole block could be wiped out.
And that's for real.
That is for real. 100% for real.
That's crazy.
And it's for real just over borders.
Yeah, it's not that far away.
You go right to Mexico, and it's for real. Like, you sidestep a cartel, everyone is dead.
And people pretend or subconsciously live like that doesn't exist, and then act like
that's because we're comfortable,
and act like we got problems.
Yeah.
I learned that when I went to Thailand and Burma.
Oh my gosh!
When I went to Thailand, then we flew to Burma, the third world country. I really learned, like, oh, what happens here is not the rest of the world, and you do get stuck in that. Before I left, I was in that mind like, what's here is other places, and when I got there, I was like, absolutely.
This is as close to a utopia as you're going to get right now.
Yeah.
Could it be better? Sure, but
it's not that bad.
When we were in Burma, I remember there was little booths, and I never saw a police officer.
Yeah.
And for the cool thing is not a lot of crime, because people over there just don't play like that. Like, we went to like these golden monasteries. I'm like, when somebody steals the gold, like, first of all, they would never come here and steal the gold. And if they did, they get fucking marked up in here. Like, there ain't no like trial, like, you just get marked. So you would see every once in a while, you'd see a booth with one guy with AK-47. I say, man, what is that for? I don't see police officers. I sometimes see these guys. He goes, that is literally the difference between Muslims and Buddhists here. He said, if the Muslims were to show up, that guy would mow them down. He said, I was like, that is not America. He's like, we're not in America. He's like, they take that shit for real here. Yeah. And I saw, when I told you, when we were in Bangkok, I saw real hate. I saw the difference of like what we think we have problems in America. Then you go over there, and I saw, I remember making fun of my brother. He used to get in fights all the time. And he takes me out to, over there, a lot of underneath the hotels, buffets, and we're having a great time. Like, man, how the hell do you get in fights around here? Like, everything's so nice, everyone's so nice. He's like, yeah, you wait. And we went out late night, and sure enough, the certain demographics over there do not like Burmese people or Thai. They will call them dogs. And the one guy smoked this woman right in the face, and he hit her like, "Yeah, that's what we do." Like, give me like a not an actual hate. Like, yeah, that's what we've been doing for centuries. We don't like these people. And Matt got up, all tattooed, took his shirt off, chased the guy out, and I was like, okay, I'm understanding. That's the first time I ever felt as American. Oh, we are not safe. We're not. I'm like, I'm a white male American over in another place where like there might be another demographic over there. It's like, we don't like you for real.
Yeah.
Like, I saw like it's not like it's like it's not a mixed culture there. It's like it's just these people, or it's just these. And when you get them into one melting pot, like, we don't like each other. Like, I saw Persian people fucking just throwing trash on the ground. Yeah. And I was like, what's up with that? He's like, oh, dude, we're dogs to them. That person's like, pick my trash up.
Jeez, the rest of the world outside of the Western societies is still very tribalistic.
Yes.
And like in Iraq, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, it's all the same people, but because of religious differences, Sunnis, the Kurds, the Shiite, they're tribalistic inside of those tribes. And they've been warring for thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Right? Like, that was the big thing about Afghanistan, is that, like, hey, when America first showed back up in the early 2000s, they thought they were still fighting Russians. They're so isolated. They are still in these tribalistic mindsets, and it causes a lot of problems. Instead of getting those tribes together, they decided to stay separate. And I think that tribalism. What's great about this country is the things we do complain about, like the United States as a tribe.
Yeah.
When it needs to rally, it gets together.
Yeah,
it
for sure.
The guy that when we were at that taco place, where that fight happened, after that girl got punched, there was a I think what's like a Australian special ops kind of guy. I don't know the terms of what they would be, but he was sitting next to us and he came over like quietly. He's like, "Thanks for doing that, man." He's like, "You guys American?" And brother, like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll tell you what, man, you guys get a lot of heat thrown at you." He said, "But when we were in war," he said, "everybody bitch out. You know who you call the Americans."
Oh yeah.
And they come and fucking bust the door down. I was like, "Okay, dude." I was like, "This is like a fucking rally here."
Yeah,
Let's go. Dude, he was for it. He said, "Look, all the countries talking a lot of shit. And do they need to bust down the fucking
they always call us.
Then he's like, "I'll tell you who we call. Call Americans."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Hey, boy, yeah." I was like, "They're calling me."
Oh man. All right, you want to wrap this thing up?
No. Yes.
Okay.
But how can I'd like to set something up so that we could get involved with the nonprofit? We should set.
I just want to go and be a fly on the wall. I think that'd be. When do you do your retreat?
So our retreat, we try to. Right now, we're wrapping it around the Army-Navy game every December.
Okay.
It gives us a purpose to get together. Navy guys, Marines.
It's in July
Army guys.
this year.
Yeah. We go up to Lebanon, PA, but we've begun to do multiple events throughout the year.
Okay.
So we had a shoot event back in March. We had a bunch of our donors came up and they got to shoot some big guns.
Okay.
We're doing a ruck march in Knoxville in November.
Okay.
We're doing 22 miles. Individual unfortunately took his own life, so we're doing it in honor of him because that happens all too often. But yeah, I'll get you the info we got to get you. Our Redefining Warrior RDWC actuals, the Instagram.
Okay.
Just simply go on there and follow that.
And you have a schedule of these events that can be found somewhere?
Again, we don't have we're not website just yet.
Okay.
We're really being patient on how we're growing because we want to do this the right way.
That's the smartest thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the smartest thing you can do is everyone wants to grow, but with something like that, it has got to be at a certain pace.
You don't want to lose the care.
You cannot.
And we don't want to lose what our mission is, right? We want to bring these guys the best stuff that we can bring them and set them up for a level of success that if we grow too fast, which can happen, people want to give money. If we grow too fast, I think we'll lose ourselves, and that's not what we want to do. We don't want to become like the Clinton Foundation and really have a murder hit list or whatever.
Dude.
But, yeah.
No, that's great, man. Well, look, I can't thank you enough. You've been a name that I brought up to him since we even had this idea. And I know I told you a while back, too. Like, I want to have, because I know you've got a shit ton of value. I know you align with the same things we align with. All those good things. So I'm happy that this worked out on a Friday, since you don't work on Fridays. Lazy piece of shit.
I know.
Cushy job,
So, got a lot of shit to do today.
Yeah, no, man, but thank you for coming by, brother. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on, and again, I appreciate what you guys are attempting to do, and which is bring voices back to men, especially men in this community, right? Maybe eventually you'll affect national stuff, but starting here is the best place to start. And it'll spread.
Yeah.
We just have to talk more. We have to be more open about what it is we need to do, and I think we'll get our communities back to where we need.
Sure.
It may take time, but it starts in rooms like this.
Yeah, we'll just stay the course, right?
Yeah,
a lot of littles right now. It's a lot of littles.
Men are patient.
Yeah.
To a fault, because we know what we can get to.
That's right.
All right, for having me.
Thanks for serving.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. Appreciate it.